Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a few different reasons why, if you are an existing Amazon FBA seller, you should start sending pallets off to the Amazon fulfillment centers instead of using boxes and the small parcel delivery service, typically through UPS. So before we jump into the video properly, it's important to note that as you scale up your Amazon FBA business, it's really important and it's so key that you're looking for all these different areas that you can improve that 1%, okay? Improve efficiencies, costings, basically everything you can do to maximize your profits and minimize your costs, you need to be looking at and you need to be exploring. Now, I've done loads of different videos on the different ways that you can do this, and honestly, there are hundreds of different ways that you can save costings here, save costings there, and really maximize your efficiencies. But in today's video, I'm just going to be specifically talking about pallets and how they could potentially benefit your Amazon business. So first of all, how does sending a pallet into Amazon actually work, and how is it different to sending in, just say for example, a box through UPS, okay? So it's actually pretty similar, okay? All you have to do is, firstly, you need to get a pallet, okay? And this has to be 1 meter by 1.2 meters in size, okay? Which is classed as a UK pallet. Now, typically you might get deliveries on Euro pallets, or I think there's like Japanese pallets. There's loads of different types of pallets that you can get, but you need the 1 meter by 1.2 meter pallets. Then what you need to do is get all of the goods that you're looking to send out and put them on the pallet, okay? And you want to schedule it on Amazon as you usually do. Now, if you are scheduling more than 10 boxes, which typically if you are sending off a pallet, you're going to be sending off more than 10 boxes, then you will need to upload it through Excel instead of using the web format that you probably already use for sending small parcel delivery. So all you have to do is generate the Excel file. It's super simple to use. It's super easy. It will just ask you to put your box contents in like you usually do. So what goes in each box, how much does each box weigh, what are the dimensions for each box. And I think you can have up to about 200 or 250 boxes on each pallet. So it gives you the opportunity to reuse the boxes that your products come in from your suppliers. So you'll need to upload all of that into the document, submit that to Amazon. So basically you just upload it back into Amazon. They will give you the labels like usual. You'll need to stick all of the box labels on. You'll then need to stack them all on the pallet, wrap the pallet, and then Amazon will give you what we call an outer label for the pallet. So you'll need to stick on a label on each side of the pallet for the pallet, okay? Now, super simple, super easy. A couple of important things to note: your pallet has to be a maximum of 500 kilos in weight, and it also has to be a maximum of 1.8 meters high. So you have to use a UK pallet, 1.8 meters high, and 500 kilos max is really the criteria for sending pallets into Amazon. Now, it works the same as small parcel delivery, where you can either do it through partnered carrier if it's a non-hazmat, or you can do it through a non-partnered carrier such as Pallet Line or different couriers if you are shipping a hazmat good. I'll get into this a bit more in a bit more detail later on in the video too. Okay, so what are the benefits? So I think the first and probably the most obvious one is it's going to be more cost effective when you are scaling, right? So typically, if you are sending a box into Amazon, it may cost you anywhere from £3 to £5 depending on the size and the weight, okay? A pallet will typically cost you anywhere from £40 to £50 on the top end to send a pallet into Amazon, okay? Typically, it works really well with heavier items. If you've got maybe items that come in a case of maybe, I don't know, 6 or 12, and the box is maybe like this big, you may be able to fit like 40 of those boxes on one pallet, and maybe those boxes weigh like 10 kilo each. So it's going to save you sometimes per pallet. If you've got heavy things, it can save you like 50 to 100 to potentially even £150 on your shipping, especially through hazmat. This is such a more cost-effective way to ship hazmat goods and heavier goods, really. With the smaller and the lighter goods, you're really not going to save as much money. You may as well just send them through UPS, really. But also what you've got to understand is the main efficiencies that you get don't actually come from the costings as well. It just comes from making the process much more efficient, much more smooth. And especially while you're scaling, this is going to save you time and effort and ultimately money on staffing costs, wages. And if you're doing it yourself, then obviously your time. So the second tip is that you are usually able to reuse the boxes that your supplier will actually send the goods in. So say, for example, your supplier may send the products in a case of 12, okay, or a case of 24, or maybe even a case of 6. Usually what you're gonna have to do is take the products out of that box, pack maybe 50 or, I don't know, 30, 40 or 50. Then you're gonna have to buy a box and put them in and then schedule it with UPS for small parcel delivery, right? Whereas if you send it via pallet, it makes it so much easier to just reuse the same boxes. So say, for example, you get a case of 6, You just take each one out, put a label on it, put it back into the box. And that is literally it. It saves you buying new boxes, it saves you time and money disposing of the old cardboard, and it just overall makes the process much more efficient. So with pallets, we rarely actually use any paid boxes, any bought boxes. We do have a couple of pallets here just in case, but generally speaking, we always like to use the supplier's box where possible. And the final benefit that we found is that it just makes the process and everything really just so much more efficient when you start employing staff. So when you start getting warehouse staff in, when you start getting other people on board in the business, it makes it so much more easier than trying to schedule, 30 boxes through UPS every day or 20 boxes, whereas you could just schedule one pallet, there's one tracking number, there's one shipment. It just makes everything in the process so much easier. So I definitely recommend switching to pallets as soon as you've got the infrastructure for it, which leads me on to my next thing is when should you actually start scheduling pallets instead of UPS, right? Because I guess a lot of you may be at that stage if you're doing maybe 10, 15, 20K a month, where you're sending off probably 10 boxes at a time, maybe 15, and you're starting to think to yourself, right, would it be more cost efficient for me to send a pallet into Amazon as opposed to boxes, okay? And this is when I believe you should be looking to do it, and these are the questions that I would be asking myself with the knowledge that I have today. So the first question I would be asking is, do I have the infrastructure? So do I have accessibility at my premises, my home? It may be a commercial unit, a small unit that you've got, but is it easily accessible for pallets to come in and out, okay? So the next question I would be asking is, do you have a pallet truck, okay? If you don't have a pallet truck or don't have anywhere to store a pallet truck, it's gonna make the process 10 times harder, as you're not actually gonna be able to move these pallets, okay? When you're building up a pallet and when it comes to collection, you're gonna have to get the delivery driver to get their pallet truck out, okay? So if maybe you've got to take into consideration things like, do you have a stone drive? Is it easy to get a pallet truck up? Like, is it easy to wheel a pallet on? These are the kind of things that you need to be asking, because if you have a super smooth tarmac drive, you have a pallet truck, you have the space, brilliant, you're probably set up for it, right? But if you've got a really long, bumpy, gravelly driveway with stone, it's not going to work, okay? You need to be thinking about these things prior to actually scheduling the shipments, okay? And I would recommend, if you are sending pallets, that you do have a pallet truck at your premises. I think they're like £200-300, literally just so you can actually physically move the pallet. It doesn't have to be a motorized one, it can just be a handheld pallet truck that's able to move pallets for you. And finally is, do you actually have the space for it, okay? Pallet, when you build it up, a 1 meter by 1.2 meter, stacked 1.8 meters high, it can take up a lot of room. And again, the accessibility is a big thing, okay? So you need to consider, do you actually have the space? And is it actually going to be worth your time building these pallets, okay? Because yes, you may save £5-10 on a pallet sometimes, but if it's going to take you an extra hour or hour and a half or 2 hours, and it's going to create lots of headache, you've got to think, is that actually worth it? If you're scheduling a hazmat shipment and you're maybe saving £100 on a pallet, then yeah, if it takes you an extra hour, 2 hours, it's maybe worth your time at that stage. But really, if you're saving an extra like 10, 20, £30 and it's going to cause you a lot of headache, that's what you've got to think of. Is it going to be worthwhile? It's also really important to note that if you do want to schedule pallets through a UPS partner carrier, then they do not collect from residential addresses. They only collect from commercial addresses, and they will refuse to collect from any residential addresses if it is scheduled. So if you are planning to schedule a pallet from your residential address, then you're going to need to do it through a third party like Pallet Line. I'm sure there are loads of other couriers out there, but you're going to need to do it through a third party carrier. And most importantly, the actual size of the pallet. There's no point actually sending a pallet off to Amazon if it's got, 5 boxes on and it weighs 100 kilos, okay? Because you're not going to be saving money. It's actually going to be costing you more money. The pallet cost for a pallet that is 200 kilos and 1 meter high is going to be the same cost as a pallet that is 1.8 meters high that's 500 kilos. So you need to make sure that you're maximizing the pallet and making sure that it's as heavy and as tall as possibly can be on each pallet to make sure you're really getting your money's worth, okay? Generally speaking, anything over like 12 boxes that you can fit on a pallet, it's going to save you money, okay? So if you've got like, 30 or 40 different individual boxes that would be efficient to send on a pallet, it's going to probably save you some money and it's probably worthwhile looking into. But I would just make sure you've got the infrastructure, you've got the space, you've got the accessibility. If you're at a residential address, then you're aware that you're going to need to get a third party to do it. But these are the things that I would be considering. So instead of me saying, at 10K a month, you should start sending pallets off to Amazon, it's more of a case of like, what's your current situation? What's your infrastructure like? What's your space situation? What's your you know, where are you operating from? It's kind of an individual situation, because you can be doing 20, 30,000 pound a month with really small, really light products that are maybe £20 sale price each or £30 sale price each, right? Which these kind of products, you know, you might be able to send 300 in a box, and if they're £20 each, then that's £6,000 in revenue in one box. Whereas if you're sending big, heavy products that are maybe like £10, £12, it's going to be really efficient for you to send a pallet. So it really depends on what type of products you're actually selling and your current situation. Now, that is everything from this video. I hope you have taken lots of value from the video. If you have, please drop it a like, please drop us a subscribe, and also comment any other future video ideas you would like to see. It really helps me, and I will definitely look at covering any of the video ideas that we get in the comments. Also, if you are an existing Amazon seller, maybe doing 5, 10, 20K a month, and you're really looking to take your business to the next level, you're really looking to scale it, go in the description of this video, click the link. It will take you to a video that explains what we do, how we can potentially help, and whether we would be a good fit to work together. And then we can book in a call with me or my team to see whether we would be a good fit and whether or not you want us to help you scale your Amazon business. But that has been everything for this video, and I will see you in the next one.